All right. Oh, whoa. All right. So throughout the year, everyone likes to get a lot of exercise, but as we are now reaching winter, there's not really a lot of time for us to go outside and do it. That is why, um, now it's getting colder and it's starting to snow. What I like to do for exercise is snowboard. Now, snowboarding, it can both be like really simple and really complicated if you don't know what you're doing. But to begin with, I'm going to go over like the parts of the board, then how you actually put on and ride the board. And then once winter's over, you might still want to do something like snowboarding, but if there's no snow to practice, you have to do some other some other activities. All right. So when you get a snowboard, there's only really two parts. There's the actual board itself and then the bindings. And most bindings are the same. They're like this and they have straps, but there's a new type of binding coming out that's kind of like ski bindings where you actually have special boots and you just clamp them in and then you just unclamp them out. But I don't really like those because a lot of times if you fall, they'll come off your board. And if your board comes off your feet when you're on a mountain, you're not getting your board back. And also with the board itself, while most of them look a lot like this and they have like a standard like oval shape, some of them will actually be more like octagons, but those tend to be a lot more expensive and I couldn't be bothered to bring mine. So I got this one. And along with that, there's something called a camber, which this one doesn't really have it, but if you look at it at the side, it's actually bent differently. And there's a lot of different ones, and they can be bent for a lot of different things. Like if it is like this one, it's even in like the shape of like almost a W. You can actually see that when you're holding the board, and it allows you to get a bigger pop when you're going off of jumps and stuff. And it makes it easier to do tricks. And along with that, um, they come in a lot of different sizes for people of different heights. And so the general rule of thumb is to get it between like your collarbone and your chin. And you can do that, but I prefer to get smaller ones because I like to be in the park and it allows me to actually spin around and do tricks with it easier. And so moving on, so now we're going to actually put the board on. So I'm going to have to sit down for this because my legs are getting tired. All right. So when you put a board on, you want to have it diagonal. And this is a lot easier to do in the snow because it will hold the board up for you. But you're going to want to put in your front foot first. And you want to make sure that it is all the way resting with your heel on the end of the binding. And it doesn't really matter what one you put on first, but you want to make sure that the bigger strap is covering I'm not sure what it's called, just the area between like your shin and the base of your foot. And you want to get that as tight as possible. And then for the toe strap, you want to have it almost covering on the end of your toe. And this is to make sure that when you're carving, your foot doesn't come out of the binding. And it also allows you to keep better balance of the board and make sure that you don't fall over. All right. Now, normally when you put it on, you'd only put your front one on to begin with because that would allow you to walk with the board for you to get to the ski lift or to the crest of the hill that you're going down. But I'm just going to put them both on. All right. I lost my microphone. All right, now that you have your board on, so all right, so can go back into that. All right, so the so the first thing that you need to understand when you're snowboarding is that it requires a lot of balance, and if you don't have that, you're gonna fall over. And so in order to actually go down the hill, it's not as simple as just going straight down. You actually have to move between your toe side and your heel side. And by going back and forth between this, you're doing something called carving. And this both allows you to make sure you're not going too fast, and also allows you to better keep your balance. Because if you're just going straight down a hill, snow will begin to build up on your board, and you will flip over and fall. But doing this allows you to like keep track of your speed, and also when you get better at it, you can do it a lot tighter, which will actually make you go faster. So now that we've learned like the basics of snowboarding, but when winter gets over, you may not know what you want to do, because without snow, you can't really snowboard. And so in like the fall or spring, you can skateboard. I'm not really too good at that, so I don't do it, but I know a lot of people that do. But in the summer, I like to wakeboard. And this is similar to snowboarding in that is both like a fairly long board, and you wear like boots with it, but you do the same motions that you would for snowboarding, but it's in water obviously, and you have to start in the water. But the boots for a wakeboard are actually built onto the board, and I would have brought mine, but frankly, I couldn't be bothered to carry it to my car with my snowboard, so I didn't. And then they're just shaped slightly different. The wakeboard tends to be wider because it needs to allow water to push up and keep you afloat. And then, yeah, that's all. Oh, I forgot I saved my source. Whoopsie.